My attorney told me that because I did not have access to our financial information and we would have to rely on the information that my husband provided, I would need to do my best to look over everything and let them know if it was accurate to the best of my knowledge. It took me a few days to gather the courage to look things over. I was scared of what I might find and what it would add to my already frail emotions. It sounds silly to admit this, I know, but it was my new reality. When I finally summoned up the courage to begin reading over the 50 plus pages of documents, it felt like I was living someone else's life. And what I feared became my reality as I read over things that I was completely unaware of. The vulnerability that this makes you feel swallows you up. The foolishness that you feel swallows you up. I had trusted my husband completely with our finances. I was an open book regarding every cent that I had spent for the past 27 plus years. There was nothing that I spent money on that he did not know about. I would learn how foolish my blind trust in him about our finances had been. I learned things that I knew nothing about, in addition to those hidden Amazon purchases that he had hoped to keep from me. And I'd come to believe that there was probably other purchases that I was unaware of, because I knew that the first time you're caught doing something, it's not likely to be the first time you've done it. In his paperwork to the court, my husband had disclosed a large loan against his 401k that we had been paying back each month for a few years. When I read this information, I felt as though I'd been hit over the head with a board. I didn't understand what I was reading at first. I had to read it a few times. It didn't make sense to me because at a time when our family finances were at their best, with three less people living in our home, less use of utilities, less groceries, less gas, he had taken out a loan and he had never said a single word to me about it. And touching a 401k was something that he'd always told me was a bad financial move for people. We'd known people that had done it, and he said we would never do such a thing. I couldn't believe it when I saw it on the paperwork. I couldn't understand why he did something that he said was wrong. I didn't know what the money was used for, and it was a large sum for us as a family. And it was now a loan that I had to pay half of back in the divorce settlement. That stings. To this day, I have no idea what it was for, and I have no plans to ask him about it. My heart has come to accept that no matter what his explanation for it was to me, I could never be sure that he was telling the truth. Lies do this. They make you doubt everything. And once I started seeing a pattern of dishonesty and deceit with him, I began feeling more and more vulnerable just to be in the same room as him. I couldn't look at him, couldn't be anywhere near him, or even hear his voice without physically shaking. What did it feel like for him to carry all this deceit around in his heart? I felt like I was finding out that my husband was living a double life, one in front of me and one behind my back. And it was more than him being my husband. He was the father of my three sons. This was the man that was supposed to set an example for my boys. I no longer respected the father of my children. I no longer wanted my boys to be anything like their dad. This realization brought me deep, aching sorrow. I couldn't stop myself from wondering just how much he had kept hidden from me during our marriage, and if lies had always been a constant companion for us. It haunts your thoughts even when you try to push it away. And I spent every day and many sleepless nights trying to push it away. Each time I learned new pieces of information, more pieces of me tore off. Even if my husband was to tell me the truth, I would now doubt it. If he were to tell me that it was not going to rain, I would get my umbrella. I felt cheated out of the safe place that I had once been in when I trusted him with my whole heart, with my whole life. He had told me many times over the years that he hated liars. I believed him.